Well, Singapore says it will embed itself deeper into global supply chains and expand and diversify its trading activities and markets. The Trade and Industry Ministry says this will strengthen the country's relevance as a global business hub and anchor good jobs here. It says Singapore will also strengthen its international partnerships to capture new opportunities in growth areas such as digital trade and sustainability. At the same time, the ministry will coordinate governmental efforts on supply chain resilience to secure critical supplies for Singapore. And for more on how Singapore can step up efforts to grow the economy and create good jobs, we speak to two people who are in cutting-edge fields. Mandy Hon is in the studio with us. She is Managing Director of ImpacFat. That's a Singapore company that produces lab-grown fish fat.
And also joining us virtually is Dr. Mandy Hon. He is CEO of Lucence Oncology in the US. Now, Lucence is based in both Singapore and Silicon Valley, and it develops early cancer detection technologies. Thanks very much to both of you for joining us this evening. Dr. Tan, perhaps let's start with you. You're headquartered both in Singapore as well as Silicon Valley. Give us a sense of what it's like to do business in these two areas. What are some of the similarities, perhaps differences as well?
Absolutely, and it's a real pleasure to share. The United States is the largest healthcare market in the world. It has a total, it is $4 trillion in size. And so, approaching the US market has a very different perspective as compared to approaching Southeast Asia. Our two laboratories, one in Silicon Valley, supplies the United States. The other in Singapore supplies Southeast Asia with cutting-edge early detection blood tests that help patients detect cancer earlier when it is most treatable. It's certainly driven in each market by the approaches of payers such as insurance, different regulations, different approaches to scaling up. We have learned a lot, and it's really, really an exciting experience altogether.
All right, Mandy, let's bring that conversation to you. Dr. Tan was speaking about the US market. Now, it's a very large market for healthcare, certainly for food products as well. So your company manufactures fish fat, I suppose, from growing cells as opposed to having to kill fish. This is clearly a food safety issue. When you want to bring your product overseas, what do you need to look at in terms of getting regulatory approval?
So in Singapore, we have to get a regulatory approval from SFA. But when we want to go to markets like United States, we will have to go through approval in FDA, which probably will have a different framework compared to SFA framework. So that's one thing that we will need to work on that. We will need to find out a lot more in like what they are looking for to get a product like this, a novel food, to get it approved in the market.
Yeah, you're talking there about regulatory challenges.
Yes.
Dr. Tan, let's come back to you. What hurdles essentially do you see in terms of getting the right talent? Both even here in the US, is that a challenge for you, a hurdle for your company?
So absolutely. So I'll first describe the needs in the United States, and it's certainly going to be both in terms of scaling up. And scaling up, you need people who are comfortable with both the commercial, the regulatory, and of course the back-end laboratory processes. In this whole process of scaling up, and I think really this is the number one challenge to companies in approaching a really huge market. It's going to be both people, it's going to be capital, and these are the two big things that, this is really the lifeblood of any company in delivering very high-end services.
Dr. Tan, when you talk about attracting the right kind of people, I suppose a company does a great deal in terms of showing that it is the kind of company a good worker would want to work for. But is there any help you can get, for example, from governments that can help you attract people or attract the right kind of investment?
Right. I think we have certainly already received a lot of help from government. I think I always acknowledge the help of Enterprise Singapore and A-Star in our journey, as well as the Singapore public and private healthcare sectors, because it's really been all about assembling both the technical and commercial staff. to solve a really, really big problem. In our case, it's always about detecting cancer earlier when it is most treatable. And, there really are 19 million cancer patients a year, one every 2 seconds. In terms of the role of government in helping with that, I guess it's really about making sure that the training is available to develop a very experienced as well as advanced commercial and technical manpower, and the rest is really up to the company, right, to attract, to train, to upgrade, and for us to supply the opportunities for that scaling up experience, because growth is really the single experience that really changes one's experience of life in general.
Mandy, I'd like to pose a similar question to you. I think does the company have ambitions to expand regionally, maybe even further abroad? And what kind of support do you think your company would find useful in order to do that? Have you gotten that support, perhaps?
Yes, actually, it's the same. I think we have received quite a lot of support, especially from A-Star and also from Enterprise SG as well. So for A-Star wise, we receive a lot of technology support, and for Enterprise SG, they have been helping us a lot in the business development, help us to connect with potential partners overseas, especially in market like United States.
All right, just very quick final question. We're all going big into agri-tech at the moment. I guess the trends are there. There's some real momentum in sort of pushing that through. But for some other sectors, maybe not so much. What do you think is the one thing that could help push that, get that going in the right direction in terms of economic transformation, business transformation as well?
Yeah, so as you say, this is a really, really novel industry and really new. And a lot of startups and companies have been working really hard in this industry, have been trying to do a lot of things. But I think one of the really big gap at the moment now, it's more of a public understanding towards this industry. So there's a lack of understanding in this industry and a lot of misconception, a lot of doubt with products like this. So I think we may need more time, more education, more awareness to actually help them to understand and also to gain trust in terms of safety and also quality of products produced in lab. So yeah, so only with that, then everything that we have done will be a lot more purposeful as well. Yeah.
All right, Mandy, thanks very much for joining us. Dr. Tan, you too. Pleasure to have you with us this evening. We've been speaking there with Mandy Hon. She is the Managing Director of ImpacFat, and we were also speaking with Dr. Min Han Tan, CEO of Lucence Oncology.